Good morning. My name is Sarah Fossiltz. I serve as the board administrator for the Texas State Board of Social Worker Examiners. I'd like to begin this morning with calling the roll. Chair Brumley,
Present.
Ms. Rogers,
Present.
thank you. Ms. Graham,
Present.
Ms. Romsbacher,
Present.
and Ms. Swartz.
Present.
Ms. Science Davila and Ms. Andrade indicated to me that they could not attend today. And so we do have a quorum of 5 and we may proceed. Chair Brumley.
All right, well, we'll call the meeting to order. I have 8:37 on Friday, January the 7th. So we have, y'all have your agenda. Everybody has their meeting notes before them, and we've had them well in advance for review. So we'll move into the agenda. With having called the meeting to order, we will go to agenda item number 2, board review and possible action regarding appeals of application or licensure denials, including Bustos, Dixon, Haskett, and Yonnecut. So we will take those in your agenda there. The information is there. The individuals were all 3 denied licensure based on statute or law based or law for licensure having to do with a felony. So these 3 individuals have had their licensure denied, and if they are present, I will let Sarah look and we can take them in. We'll just take them in alphabetical order. We'll go with Bustos, Rudy Bustos Jr., if Rudy is there.
I didn't see him on a search. Mr. Bustos, if you are present, will you use the raised hand feature? Is this housing 1?
Housing 1, is that maybe it?
Person who's logged in as housing 1, will you unmute
Yes,
and state your name?
Rudy Bustos Jr.
Thank you, sir. So the board members have received all the materials regarding your application and regarding your appeal that you've supplied. Is there any additional information or any other comments you'd like to make to the board? And the board members may ask you questions.
Yes, ma'am. I found the previous letters that I received from the state after sending in my criminal history report.
Yes.
And they date back. I sent the criminal history report back in 2018 before even applying for a license. And I received, it took about almost a year for them to respond to me. And by the time they responded to me, I'd already began a master's program. But in the response, it said that they were reviewing, this was on November 13th, 2019, that they were reviewing my request for application. And then on December 10th, it states that they're notifying the Texas State Board of Social Work Examiners reviewed the information I submitted regarding my application at their regular meeting on December 7th, 2019. After careful review, the board had determined to approve my application for further processing. I then received another letter on December 16th from the same board saying that that my application to sit for the exam was approved. And so I know systems were different back then, but I did notice that there are several people on this board meeting, this current board meeting, that were on this letter at the top of this letter, which is Audrey Romsbacher and Brian Brumley. And so I guess, so it's my understanding that the same board who granted licenses back then were the same board that gave me permission to sit for that LBSW exam. And I know since then, like occupational codes have changed as I've presented in my appeal. And so I'm just kind of wondering like where we stand with that. And I know, you know, and nobody could foresee COVID happening. And during all that process, I tried to apply for the LBSW exam, and COVID hit and shut everything down. And by the time everything was ramped back up, I was already well into my master's program. And just like every, you know, social work student who enters a master's program who didn't take the LBSW exam, they just usually forego it and go forward with the master's level exam. And if I would have received a no back then in 2019, then I don't see myself continuing to pursue that master's level education.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bustos. One of the things that we've looked at in the information that's been provided, and I will, if Attorney Kenneth or Attorney Patrick want to chime in here, Patrick's raising his hand and shaking his head, so we'll let him speak. But it has to do with the way the law is written and the language there. Patrick, do you want to expound on that, please, sir?
Sure. So the unfortunate thing for Mr. Bustos is Chapter 108 was in the Texas Occupations Code was made effective September 1st, 2019. And in Section 108.052, it says a licensing authority shall deny an application for an applicant who has been previously convicted or placed on deferred adjudication, community supervision for a commission of a felony offense involving the use or threat of force. And so it's not discretionary. It says the agency shall deny, but the issue is the timing of that statute. That statute came into effect September 1st, 2019. So any application filed with the agency on September 1st and afterwards that statute would apply to. In Mr. Bustos's case, he had applied back in 2018. So when he applied, that law wasn't in effect, and so it wouldn't bar his application or bar him from getting licensure. And the only issue is that he had applied to sit for the LBSW, and then he didn't actually take the LBSW exam and then become licensed as an LBSW. The problem is that he then later applied for LMSW, and his LMSW was after that September 1st, 2019 date. So it's really a matter of timing. If he had become licensed as an LBSW and was already licensed with us, then that would be a different story. The unfortunate thing is he didn't become licensed with us. So we have to now use his current application that was filed after the enactment of that Chapter 108, and we have to apply 108 to his new application. So I hope that makes sense, but if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer it.
So Attorney Patrick, if I understand correctly, if we could turn back time and Mr. Bustos was awarded completed the exam and completed the application, and we awarded him the bachelor's degree, the
Correct.
bachelor's license. When he goes to upgrade, say he carried on and went to upgrade to the master's in 2023, like he applied for the master's in 2023, would not the law have applied to the master's?
I believe we've looked at that as it's a change in status. It's not necessarily
Not a new license.
new license. And so he has a LBSW, and then we've looked at it as an upgrade in licensure. So we wouldn't necessarily have to change it. We wouldn't have to deny it as an application for license because he already has a license. He's just upgrading it to a LMSW that then allows him to do other additional things that he was already licensed to do.
And
So,
chapter 801.053, the next section in that chapter,
108, not 801, right?
did I say 801? I'm
Yes, yeah,
sorry.
yes.
Chapter
yeah,
108.053, does that not require the council to revoke those?
No, that wouldn't retroactively apply to everybody that's currently licensed. What that would mean is if you are licensed with us and then you get convicted of a felony offense involving use of threat of force after September 1st, we then would do it. The statute
I
isn't
see.
explicit about retroactively applying it to people currently licensed, so we wouldn't go back and then pull people's
I
license
see.
away.
Thank you for that clarification.
Okay.
All right. Mr. Bustos, do you have any further comment or questions?
Yes, if I guess I'm not completely understanding because I mean it's if I'm sending in the criminal history report per the state's request, I can't control how much time it takes for them to respond to me. And so would my sending my information in on time, would that not count as the date that I sent it in and requested? And then furthermore, I mean, nobody in the world could foresee COVID happening. And so I guess I'm just not understanding like how I'm not being able to, at the very least, hold a LBSW license or maybe have a provisional license. If those laws didn't come to effect until September 1st of 2019.
Patrick, go ahead.
I think the issue is the application for your LBSW doesn't stay open indefinitely. It closes after a year. Is that correct?
Yes,
Sarah?
it's a 1 year, and our database shows that the application expired August 22nd of 2020.
Okay. But it's my understanding that application was filed prior to the enactment of that statute. So that's why that statute didn't apply for it. But once that application expires, we can't go back and retroactively look at applications because that application is not active anymore. So
but there was no way for me to sit during that process. Everything had shut down.
oh,
To my
because-
understanding, ASWB did resume exams within a matter of weeks. They weren't at the same capacity as they were pre-COVID initially, but within a couple weeks, they were offering exams, and within a month or so, they were back to the near normal capacity.
And
Did you
for me,
attempt to register with ASWB for the bachelor's exam?
I did, and I actually never heard anything back from them. But also, given these letters and the go ahead to sit for the exam, I was under the impression that since I was granted to sit for the exam by the state board, which is not this board, it is a previous board, and things were done a little different, then they granted me permission to sit. I was under the impression that I was going to be able to go ahead and sit for the master's exam. So like I said, I was already further into my master's degree, and I'm just like, well, I'm just not gonna take this exam since I haven't heard anything back from ASWB.
So I think, Mr. Busto, at this point today, July 7th, 2023, we have to look at the laws that are currently on the books that went into effect September 1, 19. And without a change in law, or I don't know that you can have a felony expunged. Is that a process he could look into, Patrick or Kenneth? I don't know how that would work, but that would be a step you could consider, and I'll let one of them explain what that means.
Expungement just means that it's something you go to with the original court, and you can get and basically the court says that the offense cannot be considered for, if the court grants it, the offense cannot be considered for licensure purposes. And it's one of the ways. On September 1st, 2019, the legislature took our discretion away for whether or not we can license someone who has previously been convicted of or placed on deferred adjudication. But if an offense is expunged, and if you go that route, then we can't consider it at all. We cannot consider an offense at all. So that is one way around this prohibition.
The only thing I would add is I don't know if this particular offense can be expunged, but if it can, then we would not be able to use it again. We wouldn't be able to see it. I think it would be something we can't use. So yeah.
So if it were, just say if it were expunged and now y'all are aware of it,
It's one of those weird things, Mr. Bustos. If we get a letter from your court that says it's expunged, we go blind. We go deaf, we go mute. We don't know it anymore.
okay. I kind of watched a couple of board meetings previous to this meeting, and I've seen a couple of people's cases, the same thing. So my, is there any way I can get a copy of this meeting or the copy of the transcript or anything?
So it's uploaded, I don't know, next week.
It'll be it's being recorded and it will be posted usually within a few days of the meeting conclusion. So sometime next week, likely it'll be on our website. And I can send you an email to the link if you like.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And is it still just for all the public's understanding, the meetings, once they're posted, they are, I'm going to use the word tabbed because I understand that. So you can go to the section of the meeting that's pertaining to you, right? You can go to that agenda item.
It's not bookmarked.
Bookmark.
That you can even, you'll have to,
Watch the time.
you'll have to watch it and listen and then
Okay.
go, oh, it was before that or it was after that. But
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
sorry, it's not as
Not as fancy.
not as fancy as we might like.
All right. All right. Thank you, Mr. Bustos, for coming. I appreciate your input, and hopefully you can get something together and work this out.
Chair Brumley, you want to
Yeah.
take a vote on whether or not to approve or deny though?
Oh, okay. I was going to do them all at the end, but we'll. do
Oh,
them-
that's fine. You can do them all at the end as well. That's
Okay.
I still had I still had one more thing to add.
Yes, sir.
So in the future, I was just wondering how we can advocate for others in a similar position as mine to get them the current occupational codes that are in place now, so that somebody else doesn't come, along this whole, do all the school and all the things that I've already done and not get to this point, so they're not, facing this type of situation.
So I'll say, Mr. Bustos, one of the things that I would encourage you and all social workers is to make use of your elected officials. That's who makes the motions and the process that go into place. The board, we can look at rules and certain things, but the rules pertaining to licensure are in statute. So that means they're in law. So that happens from your lawmakers. So that's where I would start.
Okay, I appreciate y'all's time.
All right. Thank you, sir. Okay, guys, we all,
Attorney Patrick.
Attorney Patrick has something.
Yeah, sorry, Chair Brumley. The only thing I wanted to add for Mr. Bustos to just consider, and I don't know if this is a pathway for him, is under the council, Chapter 108 only applies to psychology and social work, but it does not apply to LPCs or MFTs. I don't know if he will qualify for licensure under one of those two pathways, but he can look under the requirements for like an LPC or an MFT, and potentially that's something he might want to, that's another pathway he might want to consider, because it would, while his conviction may be a barrier for licensure. It's not there's not the 108 shall deny, automatic denial is not
Not
applicable.
there.
Mhm.
Am I correct by saying, I have, the opportunity for one more appeal?
Well, depending on how the board votes, because they haven't denied you or approved you yet, you'll get a letter from probably Mr. Long or possibly one of the other attorneys, and it'll give you information as to if you're denied, you can request a requested appeal, and that would go to the State Office of Administrative Hearings, and there would be a full contested case hearing before administrative law judge. But we'll send you notice of that, but the board hasn't decided one way or the other, so putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on in this same agenda item number 2, to Joyce Dixon Haskett. Is Ms. Dixon Haskett present?
And Joyce Dixon Haskett, I had a letter of representation from attorney Adam Bruschi. I don't find either of those names in the attendee list. If attorney Bruschi or another person representing Ms. Joyce Dixon Haskett, or if Ms. Dixon Haskett is in attendance, please use the raised hand feature. I don't see any.
Okay.
I
thank you,
also
sir.
searched for, I'm sorry. the
No, I
next
was going
one.
to say, we'll also ask if Catherine Yonicott is present.
I searched for Catherine Yonicott and I didn't find them in the attendee list. If you are there but under a different name or under that name and I'm just not finding it, please use the raised hand feature. I see no one and I don't see anyone attending by telephone. So I don't believe that they are in attendance.
Okay. All right, board members, you have the information concerning Ms. Dixon Haskett and Ms. Yonicott in your board packet. Both of these are also related to Chapter 108 and are denials based on previous felony convictions. So we have these three: Mr. Bustos, Ms. Joyce Dixon Haskett, and Catherine Yonicott. I would entertain a motion regarding the licensure denial, application and denial concerning these three individuals.
As based on the law, I move to deny all 3.
Okay, have a motion from Ms. Graham to deny.
I second.
Have a second from Ms. Swords. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand or saying aye. So the motion to deny Bustos, Dixon, Haskett, and Yonicott does carry. The individuals named here will receive correspondence from one of the attorneys here at the board informing you of your next steps. Okay. All right, moving on to agenda item 3, board review and possible action regarding agreed orders to be executed by the board. Those were in your packet.
There were none to be executed by the board. There were, in the board packet was number 5.
Oh,
Those
okay.
that were
Those are
executed
them.
by staff.
Yeah. So we have none on agenda item 3. So we'll move on to agenda item 4. Board review and possible action regarding contested cases from the State Office of Administrative Hearings, otherwise known as SOA.
To my knowledge, we have no updates on SOA hearings. Is that correct? Okay.
Patrick or Kenneth, do you know any of that are, do you know how many are in the pipeline for SOA, just offhand, not to go look for anything, but
I don't think there's any social work cases pending at SOA right now, right? Right,
That's my understanding, but a lot of there's a number of social work cases that are pretty early in case development, and some of those will probably wind up going to SOA. So
okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, guys. Okay, that carries us to agenda item 5, report and agreed orders executed by the council's executive director.
So those were included, a copy of
yeah.
those were included in the meeting materials. Those are public information, so they're also included in the publicly posted. And they're included with the online license verification. They are posted there so the public can see those disciplinary actions. I'll entertain any questions if you have any on those agreed orders.
Anybody have any question about any of the ones listed there? Okay, those are approved. We don't need to take action on those. That's just a report out
Just a report.
from Sarah. So we'll move to agenda item 6, report of cases dismissed by the council's executive director. And there was something, yeah, there it is.
That report was included in the meeting materials. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer any of your questions.
And that was a total of, what was it, 33 cases dismissed during this time frame. So a lot of things happening. So all right, agenda item 7, status report of quarterly enforcement case activities.
And that was in your packet. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer those.
So, and one of the things I just wanted to point out about this report is always available on our website. Is that right,
No.
Sarah? It's not
That's
always available.
just to the board.
It's just to the board. Okay. So, but it comes in the packet so the public can see it if they look at the
No,
packet.
it's
not
just
there.
to the board.
It's just us. Okay. So the information that's included in this report, I'll just briefly touch on that. If I can see enough to see here, social work. Where are we on? Oh, there we are. 124. So we have 124 pending complaints as of May 31st. And that number has consistently moved down. So we're seeing a downward trend in dealing with those. Overall, it looks like we are moving in the right direction of resolving overall complaints. So specific to social work, they're coming down across the board, but specific to social work, we are moving in the right direction. So thank y'all for all the hard work in that area. Okay, so that was 7. So agenda item 8, report of compliance with agreed orders.
That's on that same report.
Yeah. and
It's just the bottom line item
Yeah.
on that report.
And that's handled. So agenda item 9, report from committee chairs. So we'll start with, and I guess the ethics committee, we did not meet. We did not have reason to meet during this time period. So I don't have anything to report out. B is report from licensing standards and qualifications committee chair.
I can provide the report.
Okay, thank you, Sarah.
The committee did not meet. There was no occasion for a committee to review an application or licensing appeal. So they did not meet.
Okay. And that will take us to C, which is a report from the Professional Development Committee, of which I'm the chair, and we had no reason to meet. So,
Although on behalf of as chair of the committee, you did approve for me new rules that became effective June 15th.
oh, that's right. We did that and they went up and we did the jurisprudence exam review and all those things too. So yeah, we didn't meet as a committee, but we did do some work.
Yeah.
So, all right. Now the next one is report from Rules Committee, Ms. Andrade, but she is not present. But Sarah, you also have that information, correct?
So the committee did meet on June 2nd. I'm thankful for the committee members who took the time to meet under that committee meeting. Agenda item 10 is outlines what the committee reviewed. The committee, rather than make a specific recommendation to the board, oftentimes wanted to present the board with a number of options. So you'll see that in the meeting materials for the specific rules outlined. They also looked at any rules that were impacted by the council's request that the member boards review their rules in regard to the December 2022 report from the Senate Special Committee to Protect All Texans. They looked at rules impacted by the board's request to consider clarifying telehealth rules. So those are all itemized under agenda item number 10.
And there's a 10A and a 10B, Sarah. So those first ones are all under 10A. Is that correct? The
781.404
404 is the first.
is
piece.
10A.
Yeah. And do we want to go over those or we
I
just,
can display them if you like.
yeah, if you would, please. So we can address the changes.
Um, Well, I don't want to do that. Sorry, I'm getting there.
We'll get there.
But now I don't see it.
We just looked at it earlier. There it is.
So this is 10A,
So the changes,
and the Rules Committee considered staff request for changes in 781.0404 B8 C as in Charlie to clarify acceptable fee arrangements between supervisors and supervisees. The committee determined to, I can't scroll down.
there it is. We got people in the way.
Yeah, I got people in mind. The committee determined to present both options to the board. So they're up there now. So at one point, the committee discussed just removing B as in boy, 8, C as in Charlie altogether. But the discussion continued that there might still be some confusion. So if as it was discussed, if an employer hires someone with supervisor status to provide supervision for other employees, then that supervisor cannot charge those supervisees an additional fee. But it looked like if we removed it altogether, some people thought that it might be construed as that a supervisor can never charge the supervisee a fee for those supervisory services. So then the second C as in Charlie, with additional text and some removal of text was crafted for the board's consideration.
So board members, what you see there, there's a C with strikeouts totally. And then it's or the C with some underlined and some strikeouts. So our challenge today is to pick one. I personally would I like the or version, a council approved supervisor who is compensated for supervisory duties may not charge a collective fee or anything of value from the supervisee for the supervision services provided to the supervisee. I think if we just did away with it, it would create questions and sort of leave it open for people to make their own decisions. What do y'all think?
I'm in agreement. I just want to make sure that our legal team has read that to make sure that we're not doing anything we shouldn't be doing and that the language is as clear as possible.
Patrick, is it sufficiently in legalese?
I think, well, so the reasoning behind the first option of just striking the whole was it 8 B C or big C is that, you know, the question was posed is why are we getting involved in dictating the payment terms between the supervisor and supervisee, and, you know, is it something that we need to have in rule? And so that was one of the options to say, you know, a lot of there's already rules that say you shouldn't exploit your supervisees. This is sort of goes along with those lines, but does it need to go into this sort of specificity? And then there was also discussed saying, well, we really don't want to make sure they're basically double charging the supervisees. And so the second version is really to try to be more specific about the double charging of supervisees. So the second version is fine. The issue is if we're going to go forward with making this change, we can only publish one version in the Texas Register. We can't do an or and get a poll of people. The other option would be, you can always get sort of like an informal poll, but we can't do an actual rule proposal change. The other option too, of course, if nobody likes these, we can go back to the drawing board and look at this further. But if you like the second option of the big C, that's fine. We can go forward with that and publish it. And again, it's going for proposal. It's to get public comment, and we can always take that public comment and say, and hear that people hated it, and here's all the problems with it. So.
Right. So when it goes, so the process would very simply be, if we take action today on one or the other, then it goes into the register. Is that first step for review? And while in the register, that's where the public can log in and make comment on it. And then we bring that back to the next board meeting, and then we decide that, yes, we're going to adopt it. Is that the steps?
Yeah, the only thing I would add is the next step would be go to the council, and then the council would approve it for publication, and then it would go to the Texas Register for publication, and we would receive public comment, and then it would come back to the board. Yes.
Okay. So in that process, I mean, today, July, we're looking at what? Next year sometime before that would go into play?
The council meets in August, so it would not be published until sometime after that August date.
Yeah.
It's a 30-day public comment period. The social work board meets October
Yeah.
7th, I believe.
That would be the earliest.
So that would be a tight turnaround, but it's possible that if it's published before September 7th, that the public comment would be back before the social work board actually meets.
Yeah.
Prefer a couple days for
Yeah.
gathering the comments and getting them to the board members to review. So it's possible that the board could look at it to either recommend adoption or changes in October, and then the council meets, I think it's later in October.
Okay.
I'll have to double
Yeah,
check
we
that.
can worry with that. So board members, any insight, input on what you'd like to do with this today? So this is coming to us from committee.
Even though it's coming from committee, I'm assuming we actually have to move on option A or B. Is that correct?
Or
We can do nothing. I mean,
I'm happy to move to approve option B, the second option.
okay, the one that was not a total strikeout. It had the other language in it.
Correct.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion from Megan Graham.
Yeah.
Need a second?
A second.
Chair, I think we just
we don't
lost
have a quorum.
a board member. Yeah.
Lost Megan.
Do you want to, Chair, do you want to take a break, and hopefully we can get her back and continue the meeting?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's, by my watch.
Oh, there
Here
she
she is.
Okay, all right, all right.
So
got-
sorry, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, we lost you a minute. Okay.
It's coming back.
So during that, Megan had made a motion went away. Now you're back, so your motion still stands, Megan. So with having that motion, Audrey came on and made a second. So now we're open to vote. So all those in favor of the motion to adopt under 10A, the proposal as indicated, please signify by raising your hand or saying aye. So we have, motion does carry. So that will move forward. Okay, now we'll move to agenda item number 10B, which is related to 781-501, which has to do with continuing education. And that also is in your packet.
So the committee met and noted that in the standardization of the continuing education rules, 781.504 was repealed so that a field instructor no longer received any credit for continuing education due to their work as a field instructor. The Rules Committee discussed a number of options for the board's consideration. One was leave the rules as is. The second was add continuing education credit for field instructors as written below. And a third option was reducing the continuing education credit in the addition from 10 hours per renewal period to 5 hours per renewal period. And I'll slide down to, sorry if it makes you dizzy. This was a cleanup, and then this is the actual
Yeah, it's right there.
proposal. Providing field or practicum instruction to social work students. A field or practicum instructor may claim 1 hour of continuing education credit for each hour of college or university credit that is awarded to the social work student receiving instruction. The maximum number of hours that may be claimed for this activity is 10 hours per renewal period, and hours claimed may not be counted toward the ethics or cultural diversity or competency requirements.
All right, so we have this as an option. Again, we can do nothing and leave it out, or we can reduce this to 5 hours. So in reality, when I'll give y'all some just some inside information here as we make this decision. The average semester credit hour course that a student would take is three semester credit hours in any given semester. So if an individual, and some universities may up it to 4 and have some differing numbers, but based on the math I'm going to use from my university, if we had a graduate student and they were doing internship hours, and they did it over 3 semesters, that would give the person could, a field instructor could earn 3 continuing education credits for the 3 hours of semester credit hours that the student was taking. So they could earn up to 9 hours a year, I guess, or a year. So in 2 years in a renewal period, they could easily get to the 10 hours that are approved. And that 10 hours actually represents about it represents a third of the hours required, not including those named there. I think that one is probably an adequate compromise that we've come to. And any discussion or insight from anybody else out there? Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion as to how we would move on 10B. Megan, if you're talking, you're on mute. We can't hear you.
I was just wondering if we still have quorum. I'm not seeing everybody.
Yeah, we're here. There's
Okay.
Asia, Audrey, Jennifer, and me and you. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for asking.
I don't know what's going on with my situation over here, but so how does that change what's currently in effect? Is it just
So
keeping the
currently,
standard?
no, currently, we took it all away. They
We
get
took it
nothing.
away.
They get nothing for being a field instructor. And from the social work community, we've had lots of insight as to why it's important that they receive continuing ed hours for being a field instructor. So that's what we're discussing is we are considering putting something back into statute.
Okay.
And this is what the committee has presented it to come back. And
I mean,
this
it
is,
seems fair to incentivize them in a way that makes their life, informed and a little bit easier. So I'm okay agreeing with the
Okay.
ratio you talked about.
is that in the form of a motion, ma'am?
Sure, let's move to do it.
Okay, so we have a motion from Megan Graham.
Is that for the 10 or the 5? I'm confused.
For the 10.
I'll second it.
Okay. All right, we have a motion from Ms. Graham and a second from Ms. Rumsbacher. All those in favor of approving the requirements for continuing education in 781-501 to include field instructors at a ratio of 10 hours per renewal period, please signify by raising your hand or saying aye. So we have,
Aye.
all right, motion does carry and we'll move forward. So that will also take the same process as the previous rule to go into effect. So it doesn't happen immediately, but it is on the path. Okay. Agenda item 10C, any rules impacted by the council's request that member boards review their rules for potential changes to comply with the December 22 report from the Senate Special Committee to Protect All Texans.
So on June 2nd, the Rules Committee reviewed rules in consideration of streamlining licensure requirements as indicated in the report from the Senate Special Committee to Protect All Texans, also known as the Uvalde Report, which the yellow highlight quotes the thing below. And I should note that the Social Work Board has in recent years streamlined some of the licensing process, such as removing that 5-year rule for supervised experience. Most recently, the 48-month maximum for supervised experience, and increasing the shelf life, for lack of a better word, of the exam from 1 to 2 years. Staff looked at other streamlining things and suggested that in 781.412, that although very few people are hindered by the rule as it is, so if you take an exam, staff can accept that passing score if you apply no later than 2 years from that passing score date. If you wait more than 2 years to apply for the license, then, and say your exam score is 3 years old or 5 years old, then staff for this rule could no longer accept it. Again, the licensing manager indicated that very few people are tripped up by this rule. So the committee looked at it and said it was okay to present this option to the board. But there wasn't a strong recommendation one way or the other. And it's also open to the board to discuss any other rules that might be considered for streamlining in light of this report. And I think Director Spinks points out that the report encouraged the legislature to take action to instruct the council to do this, but we just read the report and we're doing it on our own volition to make sure that we're doing the best we can for the citizens of Texas.
So is that C1, is that one we're going to take action on today, Sarah? Do we need to?
That's agenda item 10C.
C,
It's
so-
not specifically, it's written so broader so that the board can discuss other rules if they choose.
Okay,
But the materials, the packet materials did include the 781.412 option, which I just displayed.
which was the 1 year to 2 year on the licensure thing.
Yeah.
So, and really what that does, I don't know why, I mean, I'm just using my
I'm
own
sorry.
thought process.
I misspoke. We've already changed it from 1 to 2 years. That was done before, I think SB Heck started.
Yeah,
Now the suggestion is to remove the 2 years. So at any time, if you agree, at any time that an exam is passed,
uh-huh,
there's no limit to it. If I passed it back when I graduated in 2010, but I'm now in 2023 applying for the license, staff could still accept that exam no matter how old it was.
okay. And
And there's-
ASWB keeps that information forever?
Certainly. So for example, we might receive a passing exam score from someone who's coming from another state,
Uh-huh,
and they may have practiced in that other state for 20 years
Okay.
before they retired and came to Texas and want to do semi-retirement work in social work and want to have that Texas license.
okay. So this is saying a person who's never been licensed, but passed the exam at some point in history can move forward with that score from 5, 10, whatever years ago.
It's just taking the shelf life,
Frame off of
the
it.
expiration date off of the
Yeah,
exam.
but nothing else. I mean, we still look at all the other factors related to
Oh,
licensure. We have
absolutely.
to, yes.
Absolutely. And you may not want to. You may believe that that someone's life experience that takes them away from social work for more than 2 years from the time that they pass their exam,
Yeah.
maybe that poses a public risk. So again, it was just a discussion, and the Rules Committee did not
Act.
recommend it, but did not prohibit staff from presenting it to the board.
Board
So-
members, y'all have any feelings about this one way or the other? Tim Spear would like to speak. His hands up.
Can you unmute, Tim?
I did. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly add for the members' consideration that the psychology board does not have an expiration date on their exam. And, that's a doctorate level. That's a doctorate level license. There hasn't been any data from our end at the council that shows that there is any threat to the public for removing the expiration date of an exam. So that's just information for you guys to consider, and I'll yield.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Jennifer, Audrey, Megan, Asia, y'all have any thoughts about this? I don't.
So my initial thought was, things change over the course of time, and how do we know what you learned is still relevant? But if CEUs are still happening and there's still ongoing education, then that kind of removes that barrier and allows them to be of service. So I think I'm okay removing that, especially based on what Mr. Spear said.
Okay. Jennifer, Audrey, Asia, y'all have anything?
I agree with Megan.
Okay,
I'm kind of on the fence. I'm like,
yeah. One of the points that Megan made, being a social work educator, I see things that change over time, but I don't know if I can arbitrarily pick a number and say, 5 years is better than 7 or 8 years is better than 12. I don't know that I could put a number on that. So,
No.
I'm. All right, so Megan, is yours a motion to change, to do away with the shelf life? Oh, Patrick, go ahead.
I was just going to suggest, because the rule is not specifically stated in the agenda, I would say if we want to make a change to this particular rule, certainly tell us what you want to do. Staff will bring it back. We'll put it on the next agenda as an official rule proposal. So debate it all you want right now, but I just wanted to say, let's not necessarily propose it straight to BHEC. Let's put it on the next agenda so that it's specifically stated there, and that would before we move it forward to the formal process.
And
Okay,
that gives, when it's on the agenda with the particular section, that gives the public a better notice as to what we're actually discussing.
I absolutely agree with that. Thank you for that, Patrick, because I was gonna ask if we couldn't do some sort of like, you know, public survey of what everybody feels about this, but so if we plan to have it on the October agenda, we can have can we
They can
get
submit written public as you received a written public comment
today,
today.
yeah, about that.
They can
agenda
certainly do that for any agenda item.
item? Okay, all right.
Agreed.
All right, so that's what we'll do with 10C is move it to October and ask for public comment.
So do you want to take a motion to instruct staff as to what kind of proposal it should be? Or do you want to table it for further discussion? in
Table it for
October?
further discussion in October, please, with public comment to be addressed in October's meeting. And then we'll direct staff based on the outcome of the October meeting, what to do. Does that make any sense? You look confused.
I'm not, Attorney Patrick.
Chair Brumley, so do you want a draft of the rule without any time frame, and then that'll be debated at that meeting to either approve or and send up for proposal essentially, or just not do it? Is that, that's my understanding. You want to,
Yeah, I'd like a draft rule for October.
with no time.
With no time
Basically
frame, yeah.
Removing the
Yeah,
2
removing
years
the
out.
time frame. Something
Gotcha.
similar to psychology that you were talking about, something along those lines that we can review, yes. And between now and then, when the agenda comes out, we can have public comment that can be sent in as to how people feel about this, and then we can discuss it.
Okay.
All right. So that takes us down to D, which is dealing with telehealth, I believe. Yeah, any rules impacted by the board's request to consider clarifying rules regarding telehealth across state lines.
Where am I? There I am.
You're on D. There it is.
So at the May 5th Social Work Board meeting, there was some confusion expressed concerning the authority granted by a Texas license. Mr. Spear created and maintains multiple scenarios concerning the interstate provision of services on the Social Work Board's FAQs webpage. And staff receives quite a few contacts with questions from the Texas and non-Texas licensees and some clients about what they can do if a licensee is in Texas, but the client is in another state, or the client is in Texas, but the licensee is in another state, et cetera. A number of LMSWs have asked if they may take a job working for a telehealth company that provides teletherapy nationally and internationally, and all the entanglements thereof with getting supervision under the proper jurisdiction for that LMSW. At the June 2nd Rules Committee, they met and determined to present the following information and options to the board. And I provided my typical response just for your consideration or for your information, and it's in the public meeting materials as well. The Texas license authorizes the holder of the license, if the holder is physically in Texas and the client is physically in Texas. If that license holder must have supervision, then they have to have supervision from a Texas licensee. So if I'm a Texas LMSW but I went to school in Louisiana and there's an LCSW supervisor in Louisiana who wants to supervise my Texas practice, can't do it unless that Louisiana person also holds a Texas license, because you're getting your license in the Texas you're getting that supervised experience in the Texas jurisdiction. Now it gets complicated if you hold both an LMSW in Texas and in Louisiana. And if your supervisor holds both licenses, and then how you record that stuff gets confusing. And they're snowflakes, so I can't give you broad definitions or broad generalizations about what you should do. In that case, you should speak to an experienced LCSW supervisor, preferably one in each of the jurisdictions, so they know their own laws and rules. Because a Texas supervisor may not know Louisiana's laws and rules, or New Mexico's laws or rules, or Spain, or wherever else they're going.
Yeah.
Also, I encourage you to speak to a professional legal counsel. Your own attorney can advise you regarding your own specific situation and all of the scope of practice and job duties and requirements for supervision and all federal and state or provincial laws that may apply. I listed for anyone who cares to look them up, but I generally quote them in when I respond in email for all the rules that may apply to that particular situation. And again, they should discuss that with their attorneys so that they know how those rules apply to their particular situation. Some people will argue that they find no rule that requires the service provider to be physically in Texas. So for example, if I have a Texas license and my client is in Texas, but I'm going to be in vacation in Oklahoma or New Mexico for a while, how come I can't provide telehealth to my client who's in Texas? And the reason is because Oklahoma or New Mexico or wherever it is you're vacationing has their own laws and rules that may require or may not, I don't know, but they may require that you hold a license in their jurisdiction if you are physically in their jurisdiction and providing services regardless of the location of the client. So again, speak to an attorney, find out what that jurisdictions as well as Texas laws and rules say. The Social Work Board did provide on their website, and I'll show that later in the board administrator's report. There's some guidelines that are out there about social media and telehealth that might also be helpful to look at. The committee discussed and looked at an MFT rule in 801.58. A as in Apple and C as in Charlie. And I mocked it up here to perhaps be put into 781.303 or 781.304 for the committee's consideration on June 2nd. And it just states a little more explicitly, so it's easily quotable when I have to speak to someone on the phone or send an email to someone about what authority is needed if you are in the state or if you're coming from another state. So 801.58A speaks to marriage and family services, but I've changed it to social work. So licensees who provide social work services to clients or supervision to supervisees outside the state of Texas must comply with the laws and rules of Texas and of the out-of-state authority which govern the practice of social work. And then in 801, I've also included B here, which points to the statute that requires a Texas license. And then C as in Charlie, the holder of a Texas license who is physically outside Texas is subject to any applicable regulation of the jurisdiction in which the licensee is physically located. Before providing social work services, regardless of physical location of the client or supervision, regardless of physical location of the supervisee, the Texas licensee confirm compliance with the non-Texas jurisdiction's applicable laws and rules. Still it still takes like a 20-minute conversation to understand what's going on. So the committee, this might be something for the 4-year rule review. It might be something to table for the next, since it wasn't specifically noted in the agenda for this particular section or for a particular social work section. It might be that you want to discuss and then instruct Attorney Patrick how you want to see it in October or some other thing. I also included in the meeting packets other rules and laws, but I won't go and display those there.
Can one of y'all, or I know Daryl's not on there, is he somebody that
Yeah.
can talk about the compact? Does the compact do away with the need for this kind of language, or go ahead, Patrick?
So the legislature would have to approve the compact, and then
Sure.
what would happen is if you were licensed, in Texas, and then you become you join the compact, you're able to get a privilege through the practice through the compact. You could then practice in those member states but each state would have to enact that compact. So, I mean, fingers crossed it gets passed by multiple states, it becomes an active compact, and then Texas joins it. So, but you're really looking much further down the line.
Okay.
That'll open it up, but
But you'd
Kind of
still have to have
speculative.
a compact license. It wouldn't, the compact language as it's written right now isn't, I have my Texas license, now I can go wherever I want.
Nationwide, yeah.
You have to have the Texas license, that home license, and the compact license. And it only works
In the
for those
compact state,
states
yeah.
that are
In
participating.
the compact, yeah. Yeah, and the goal is for all to participate, but you know, we all can't get along probably, so it may not be everybody. So I think last time I looked, there were 13, I think is the number that have initiated compact language so far.
I looked at the site this morning and I only see 7,
Oh, my
although ASWB reported, I went to a update with ASWB on June 1st and they reported 10.
Okay,
But I don't see it on the site yet.
okay. Well,
So-
last thing I heard that maybe there were 7 approved, these are in the works, and these are starting language or something. But I think the number that was there, Texas is not one of them, but we don't have a legislative session again until 2025. So it would be at least 2026, I guess, technically, until we really got rolling on this. So could Patrick, could you take some of the language that Sarah has put together here for today and sort of formulate that into something that we could look at in October at our meeting for further action?
about telehealth, do you want it to go?
Yes, about take what she's done from MFTs and sort of convert it over and make it language that's suitable for something that social work could use. And we could look at that as far as the October meeting.
Yeah, we can try to get a draft ready for the October meeting. We may send it to the rules committee also for them to look at as well,
Yeah,
and then send it to the full board.
Absolutely.
I have a question or whatever about this. So if you're doing, are you saying, so if they do telehealth and they go on vacation in New Jersey, they can't do practice while they're on vacation for 2 weeks in New Jersey? Is that what you're saying?
If they're a Texas licensee, like right now, you're licensed in Texas. And if you went to, and you had clients here in Texas and you
Right.
physically went to New Jersey and you're there on vacation, while you're there, the current rules do not allow for you to provide services for your clients.
Maybe.
Okay,
But it'd be New
New
Jersey
Jersey.
rules.
Yeah.
I don't know
So
what
how
New
would
Jersey
you-
rules are.
so how would somebody in Texas know that? So let's
So
say
you would-
you had,
would
You have to know New Jersey rules.
You
have to
would
know where you are.
Google,
Yeah.
you would Google New Jersey social work license and find the appropriate authority. And then
No, that's what-
contact them to help you find the appropriate, whether they need the law or the rules and whether you need a New Jersey license.
that's not what it. Okay, maybe I'm talking ethical issues here, but I just, how would they, is there a way to know that Audrey went to New Jersey and she treated a client or whatever? Is that an ethical thing that a social worker would have to do? I don't know what I'm asking, how I'm asking it, but I'm
Yeah.
asking it
asking
wrong.
if
I
it's
understand
like
what you're asking. You're
enforceable?
saying, how would we know you're there? How would anybody know? you're there?
Correct,
Yeah.
correct.
I think that does, I mean, I agree with you, Audrey. I think that just comes down to you being honest. I mean, yeah.
What I've seen in the past is that at the time that the conduct occurs, it may be that no one's really concerned about it. But later on down the road, that client might have a disagreement with the service provider, and that client
Oh, I
might later down the road file a complaint.
I got it.
Stating that this occurred, or say you're at a conference in New Jersey with other social workers, and you're like, I got to skip this session because I got to go take care of my client. I'm going to be up in my room, but I'll meet you later for lunch, etc. One of those
Mhm.
people might be a competitor of yours, and that person might file a complaint. So we don't really have eyes on you. And the social worker is obligated to abide by all laws and rules as to the best of their ability. But at some point in time, as I've seen over the years in the complaint processes, sometimes what you think was, everybody agreed it was okay. My client said it's okay if I did that because I wanted to go to New Jersey. But down the road, it might not be okay anymore for all the parties involved, and then we hear about the complaint.
So we're just telling you to be ethical. That's what we're saying, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Patrick, did you want to input anything on this? You had,
No, I think you covered it.
okay.
And Ms.
Unless you
Ward,
have, sorry. Unless you had other questions, I think it's fine.
No, I think Jennifer, you were going to talk.
I think I interrupted Ms. Swartz.
No, I was just trying to help clarify what Audrey was trying to ask.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so, I mean, yeah, as practitioners figure out, you think something sounds really good on the surface, and then you get into the technical details of what I can and can't do, it gets sort of that proverbial can of worm thing that we just open up and we don't know where we are. So, I think it would be beneficial if we as a board tried to help clarify what it is that we're asking folks to do. So we'll shoot for some language and have that maybe available in October. So, all right. Are there any other, anything else about 10D telehealth? All right, hearing none, seeing none, we'll move to 11, discussion and possible action regarding the jurisprudence exam. Board review and possible action concerning the quarterly summary of the Texas State Board of Social Work Examiners, JP exam vendor, and discussion and possible action related to changes to the JP exam.
So the report is in your meeting materials. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer those for you. And also for 11B, as we stated earlier, on behalf of the Professional Development Committee, Chair Brumley approved revisions for the new rules that became effective June 15th. And they were implemented by the vendor so that the exam was updated on June 20th.
All right, any questions, information, nothing about that? All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 12, report from the board chair concerning current challenges, accomplishments, lawsuits, interaction with stakeholders, state officials and staff, committee reports and functions, workload of the board members, conferences, general information regarding the routine functioning of the board. So let me look through here. So I don't know anything about lawsuits. As far as I know, there are
Chair
none.
Brumley, I hate to interrupt you. Did we lose Ms. Rogers?
We did.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I didn't notice.
yeah, we'll just take a pause. Oh, I see
Oh,
her.
there she- okay.
Okay,
She's still there. Okay, just making sure we still have a forum.
Oh,
Okay.
she's out of the picture
Yeah.
again.
Asia, you got to move to the, I don't know if it's your right or left. Okay, now we see you. Okay, now we see you. Okay. So, all right, we'll move on here with interaction with stakeholders, state officials. I did have a stakeholder that had reached out to me, somebody that's doing their getting their PhD in social work, and they were doing I guess their dissertation related. Looks like she's looking for information about, how many social workers there are and what kind of complaints come in about social workers. So I referred her to attend today and watch the meeting and see the process that we go through related to how we sanction and do things. And I may reach back out to her. She had asked for specific information, Sarah, about the numbers of social workers broken down by licensure classification. And that should be an easy number to get, like how many BSWs, MSWs, and LCSWs there are in Texas. That's it.
I think Mr. Spear can help her with that,
Okay, all right, yeah, I thought that would be something that we could do.
or we can figure it out.
Yeah, then committee reports, appointments, we've, I guess since the last time we met, was it after May that we chose new committee chairs because we had folks leave
Because we
the
had the
board?
resignation.
Yeah, so we've appointed Miss Andrade to rules as chair and
Just a
San
second.
Savala
I gotta write
as
stuff
other
down.
one,
or
yeah.
Remember.
yeah, we made some. Sarah will get to it, but she's looking for that.
So we have, on the Professional Development Committee, Chair Brumley is the chair.
Uh-huh,
On the Ethics Committee, you're the chair.
okay,
On Licensing Standards and Qualifications Committee, Ms. Science Davila is the chair.
yes.
On the Rules Committee, you're correct, Ms. Andrade is the chair.
Chair of Rules, okay, I thought that's what we'd done, so, nobody, no things going on as far as workload. Conferences, the NASW conference is in October. ASWB Delegate Assembly will be in Memphis in, I think, November. There's ASWB has a request for proposal out for doing some research related to licensure outcomes as related to certain populations that they're looking at. And other than that, I think the board's moving along, doing well. We're keeping up with getting folks licensed in a timely manner. I know we have, that report is pretty much always up, isn't it? That Tim keeps up about where they are as far as how quickly someone can expect to hear from the board once they've submitted their
Yes.
licensure, that chart.
That's
he
an
had-
ongoing chart.
Yeah, that chart's updated, and I think he updates it pretty regularly.
Almost weekly.
Yeah, because I know I look at it every now and then, and it's always a moving number there that's in the positive for us. All right, so that's pretty much mine. 13, report from board's delegates to the Texas Behavioral Health Executive Council regarding activities of the council meeting taken at the May 23rd meeting with A, B, and C. I was unable to attend that meeting that day. Ms. Rogers, were you able to attend the BHEC meeting on May 23rd?
No.
No, okay. So do we have a report?
There's a summary in your packet. And I can share that if you'd like,
Yeah, if you want to,
if I can find my mouse.
yeah.
There it is.
Basically what happens is things we do and decide upon here move up to the BHEC board, which they will meet in August. And so we had our May meeting, and then they had theirs a couple, 3 weeks after. So the update is there in your packet, and that's a public document. isn't it?
That's
Yeah,
out there.
yeah.
And on May 23rd, the council approved the social work board's recommendation to adopt rules. The rules were published in the June 9th Texas Register and became effective on June 15th. And on our statute and rules webpage, we have a consolidated rule book for each of the professions. And these rules have been included in that newly updated consolidated rule book. I'll show you later how to get to that. So those were the rules that the council approved for adoption. And the council also, for subsection or for B there, the council proposed a rule for special licensing provisions for service members and military spouses to better align with Title III of the Texas Occupation Code and the Federal Veterans Auto and Education Improvement Act of 2022. That has been published, or maybe it's scheduled for publication on July 14th and is on our proposed rulemaking webpage. I'll show you how to get that in a moment under my report. And then in the meeting materials under C are a number of items, performance measures and budgets and some other things that were discussed by the council and just to keep the social work board members informed.
All right, any questions related to the BHEC meeting? Again, those are open to the public and anyone can zoom in and watch the BHEC meeting. The next one will be August, I think it's the 24th, but I'm not 100% sure.
And let me check real quick. August 15th is the
15th.
council meeting.
Okay, so August 15th, you can mark your calendars and there will be a council meeting. All right, report from the board administrator concerning operations, organization, staffing workload. Processing, statistical information, rulemaking, customer service, inquiries, challenges, media, legislative, stakeholder contacts, concerns, special projects, general information regarding the routine functioning of the program. So a lot of words. Do you have anything,
So
Sarah?
I do have a couple of things. I'm just verifying. I'm having difficulty with finding my cursor on two different screens, and it seems like a lot of real estate to cover, but I can only, anyway,
Yeah.
more information than anyone wants to know, but I apologize for the delays as I try to figure out what I'm doing. I'd like to share. Where am I? There we are. So I'd like to share our website. Oh, it's on the other screen. Sorry. So this is the homepage of our website. And as soon as I can get my cursor down to that screen,
It's just,
it won't.
y'all, Sarah's struggling.
There we go.
She's right to left and left to right, and it's backwards.
It's backwards and
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So here's our homepage.
We're still.
What I wanted to
still
share
not
with
there.
you. Well, it's up here.
Okay,
So,
that's okay. I don't need, I've seen it. I know how to get there.
okay.
I just didn't know.
So I think I'm sharing the homepage. We're planning, now I need to get to that. On June 19th, we're planning a council's Insight Over the Lunch Hour. So that's a Zoom-based webinar that anyone may attend.
July 19th.
I'm sorry, July 19th. I said June, didn't I? On July 19th. It was advertised in our email updates that we send to those who subscribe, and there's a link there to register. So if you're not subscribed to our email updates from our webpage, scroll down, and on the right-hand side of the quick links, you'll see the email updates page. Click on that quick link for the email updates page. Complete this web form, select all or which boards you want to be informed about, and click submit. You'll get an email in your inbox, and complete that verification process through the email, and then you'll be subscribed. I'm confident that Director Spinks will send out another email update advertising the July 19th event, and you'll be able to register for the lunch hour there if you so choose. For all applicants and licensees who are expecting a response from staff, whether you left a voicemail message or whether you sent in an email, we most often reply by email, so you have something in writing. Please be sure to check your spam and your junk folders. Staff is instructed to use the do not reply account, and sometimes the recipient's email application filters our responses into spam or junk. So if you think staff hasn't responded to you in a few days, please do check your spam and your junk folder. We are fairly well caught up after the July holiday, and so staff is responding in a timely fashion. Also, our assistant licensing manager asked that I request that those who are contemplating applying to be a supervisor, that you be sure that you have held the category of license for at least 2 years before you apply. If you think I'll do it now and I'll have my 2 years in a couple of months, and by that time staff will get to my application, staff is much more caught up. And so unfortunately, fees are not refundable. And if staff is reviewing the application at the time that you submitted it, but you've not yet held that category for 2 years, staff has to deny that, and you'll have to reapply and pay another fee. So please make sure that you've read all the rules and that you actually are eligible to apply and you qualify before you submit the application and pay that fee, because we don't have a mechanism. We don't refund the fees. It's up to you to know what you're applying for and how that is. I'd also like to show you some new web pages. Again, from our homepage, if you click on the name Executive Council, you get back to our homepage. slide down so you can see the quick links on the right-hand side. And the second one from the top is the proposed rule changes and rulemaking process. This is a relatively new web page. Lost my mouse again. There we go. This is a relatively new web page about the rulemaking process. And we've also included closer to the middle of the page, new proposed rules. And you can see here that although this hasn't been published in the Texas Register yet, it's out here on our webpage, and you can conveniently submit a public comment here through an MS form. Comments on this proposed rules is open until 5 p.m. on August 3rd. We appreciate all of your comments. So I wanted to make you aware of that webpage. If you subscribe to our email updates, as I noted earlier, you'll get notification of when a proposed rule is published and when newly adopted rules are published and when they become effective, as well as updates about procedure changes and about when the board is meeting. So it's a very helpful notification to receive. So again, the email updates is good. Up from the bottom, 3 up from the bottom is the workforce survey and data. This is also a relatively new page. We've had the survey up for a while. I encourage all of those who have not yet completed the survey to click on the survey, the study link, and complete that before 11:45 p.m. on December 31st. And if you scroll down a little bit further than that, we've posted live survey data. So as the survey gets completed, these charts get repopulated and you can check on what data do we have right now. So that's interesting to look at and find there. I also mentioned earlier about the new rules that became effective on June 15th. And one more but quick link up from the workforce survey is the statute and rules webpage. About the middle of that page, a little bit further down. Mouse, where are you? Sorry, I jumped to the other screen unknowingly. There we go. Nope. Yep, there we go. Are the consolidated rule books. And so if you've already downloaded a consolidated rule book, you might check it. The new rule book is dated June 16th. And as I said, new rules became effective on June 15th. So if you download it to use it, then you might download the next version so that you have the most up-to-date copy. And I think that's all I wanted to share on the web. Oh, let me show you, before I leave that, let me show you back to the home page. By clicking on the Executive Behavioral Council name, you get back to our home page. I want to, some people don't realize that these are active links. It names the 4 member boards, but there's also a link there. So anything specific just to the social work board, click on the name for the social work examiners in that header, and then you'll get the quick links that are specific to that social work board. And I wanted to draw your attention to the FAQs webpage. That's where there's a lot of information about that Mr. Spear has created about telehealth services. Also wanted to bring to your attention the forms and publications webpage specific to social workers. Okay, I'm there. And closer to the bottom are under the publication policy and guidelines heading is the social work guidelines for using social media and social work guidelines for electronic practice. These are not rules. These are helpful tips and a little bit more discussion and discourse than the rules provide. But they're just best practices or helpful information to guide you to hopefully keep you from having a complaint in the future. So that concludes what I wanted to share on our webpage. I attended on June 1st, the ASWB online administrative forum. That's for board administrators from across the state and from all the provinces in Canada. We didn't have everyone attending, but we had quite a few in attendance. I wanted to extend or relay that ASWB has funding available for research particularly in regard to the disparity of pass rates for the exam and other contributing factors that there might be. And their deadline for that proposal is extended until June 30th. Oh, but
Over.
this is July, so
Yeah,
I keep
yeah.
forgetting what month I'm in. So hopefully we'll see some research about that.
Just to add to that, there
Uh-huh.
were, I happen to be on the committee that's going to choose the
The proposals.
The proposals, yes, the RFPs, and there are 15 complete packets. So 15 universities, groups, whatever you want to call them, have submitted to do that research. So in August, we will be choosing the group that will be awarded, group or groups, it could be more than one, to be awarded the funding to do that research.
And ASWB is not just selecting one, they're looking at all the proposals and
We're looking at all.
seeing how far they're, but a dollar
Yeah,
stretch.
yeah, exactly. We're
Okay.
looking at every proposal that was submitted that was complete, which there are 15. We'll look at all of those. And I mean, some of them, people may go at it different ways, so we're open to looking at going at funding in different ways.
Interesting. Thank you. Also, ASWB hopes to release another data and analysis on its community conversations. Again, that might be in August or later this fall as a compact update. Oh, I'm going to want to share my screen again. We touched on this briefly. I don't have that open. I just wanted to show you a search. There we go. Share that. And it's down on here again. So it's like, there I am. Okay. So just wanted to show you social work compact. I'm just Googling social work compact and it gets me to socialworkcompact.org, which is the Council on State Government's website, which includes a map, a compact map, and this is what we were discussing a little bit earlier. And it shows in light blue legislation pending and in dark blue where legislation has been enacted. I still count 7 on this
7,
map,
okay.
but ASWB reported 10, so they might have more up-to-date information, or they might have just hopeful aspirations. And if you click on, like, for example, Missouri, it also shows you Senate Bill 70. And sometimes there's a link there and you can see what the bill says or what Missouri is doing. So just wanted to let you be aware of that. I'm going to stop that. And there will be a legislative summit sponsored by the Council on State Government, also to be held in August. More information to come on that when we get those details. I'll ask Director Spinks about putting that in an email update to those of you who subscribe. Also, there may be funding by the Department of Defense for the compact system development. And ASWB is also looking at funding. So we talked a little bit earlier that the compact has to be enacted by the state legislature. 7 state legislatures must agree to the compact before the compact becomes live or enacted. And then after that happens, there's the launching of a commission and database and all the things that go with an agency to run the compact. So a number of, and as Chair Brumley pointed out, the Texas legislature did not, this bill was not filed with them in 2023. They will not meet again until 2025. Although the governor is calling special sessions, we do not anticipate that the governor would call a special session for this topic. So it would likely be a 2025 legislative session before Texas looks at it. I think, Ms. Rogers, are you there? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't see you. And now I don't see you again.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. I attended a June 8th Texas Statewide Health Coordinating Council meeting. I don't think there's anything of import to bring to the board's attention, but it is in the meeting packet if you want to see my notes. And I believe that concludes my report. Thank you for your time and attention.
And I would like, as we get ready to move into public comment, I would just like to add to what Sarah has said. I get lots of phone calls, run into random people, emails, whatever, asking about, well, you know, how do I know how many CEUs I need? How do I know, you know, what I can do about, you know, this issue or that? My first answer to everybody is, have you looked at the consolidated rule book? Because once you learn how to maneuver through that, you can find the answer to 95% of the questions you have. And it's what the rule says. So it's not my interpretation or anybody else's. It's what the actual rule is. And as you heard Sarah say, it is, I mean, we're up to date within a month of, I mean, it went into effect June 6th. The current one is June 16th. Is that what you had said?
It was a day. The rules became effective on June 15th and the rule
next
book
day
was up.
was updated. So they are up to as up to date as anyone could ever expect. So the current rules are there for you and they are at your fingertips. So, all right, having said that, let's move into public comment, which is agenda item 15. So Sarah, give your speech.
For the members of the public who wish to give public comment, we first take anyone who is here in person. There was no one here in person. And then we look at those who are attending by computer, and we ask you to use the raise hand feature to identify yourself as wanting to give public comment. I will call upon you individually and ask you to unmute and ask you to keep your comment to no more than 3 minutes. Attorney Patrick, are you able to do the timer for me?
I will try.
Okay, thank you. After we've gone through all of those who are attending by computer, I will check if anyone is attending by telephone. I will ask them to unmute and identify themselves. And just for those who are attending by phone, *6 usually unmutes. I'll try to remind you when we get to that point. When you are giving public comment, please identify yourself and identify whether you are speaking individually or on behalf of an organization, and please name the organization that you are speaking on behalf of. Please be reminded that this is not a back and forth discussion with the board members. This is meant to be a one-way hearing that the board members can hear your comments and concerns, and we've lost a quorum again.
Oh, Asia went completely away.
Yeah. Shall we take I apologize to the public. Shall we take a break?
Yeah, let's take a break and you might see if you can reach out to her and see
Yeah.
if something happened. So it is 10, let's call it 10:15. Let's see if we can be back in 5 minutes. Is that enough?
Let's do 10.
Let's
I'd like
do
to
10.
go to the ladies.
Okay, so we'll be back at 10:25. Oh, everybody, oh, you did that.
I didn't do it. They
Oh,
logged off
They logged off,
or they turned off their video.
yeah.
All right, now I gotta get my mouse up here. Gonna share my on a break screen. And oops.
So if she don't.
Hold on,
come-
hon, we're live.
Okay.
Mouse.
Stop. There you
Hello, Miss Rogers.
You're muted.
I'm here.
Okay.
Excellent. We'll be back in a few minutes. We needed to take a break. So then I can just go to the attendees. And we've got two. I don't know. Email, email the VHX. Oh, that's what I'm doing. Okay. Don't say. Here they come. Bless you, Miss Graham.
Thank you.
All right, I have 10:25. Are we moving all back in? Who we liking?
We have everyone logged in.
Asia.
We need Miss Rogers to turn on her video. And we have an attorney,
So we're ready for public comment.
and I didn't stop the recording for the break, so I don't have to turn the recording back on.
Okay,
So oops,
what's it?
okay.
Oh.
So oops, that I didn't turn the
Oh,
recording off,
oh,
so we
gotcha.
recorded all of our.
All right, so now we are ready and y'all have heard the reading about how to do public comment. So we have two folks with their hands raised. We'll move forward.
So Mr. Brian Mayers, NASW Texas. Can you unmute?
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Fantastic. Yes, I am going to be very brief. My name is Brian Modis. I'm the Government Relations Director with the National Association of Social Workers Texas chapter, and here representing the association. Just wanted to say that we are supportive of the changes discussed today around 781.501. However, regarding the changes to 781.404, NASW is concerned that the revised language is it can be a little bit confusing than the current language, since it does not address private practice situations with contractors and creates more ambiguity in situations other than the W-2 paid employment. NASW believes that the current language should remain in place, as it will create a little bit less confusion. And last note I wanted to mention to the board is that NASW was disappointed there was no representative from the Social Work Licensing Board at the BHEC meeting in May, and encourage the board to always have a representative attend for those BHEC meetings. That is all, and I close my public comments.
Thank you, sir.
Patrick, I need to get the screen back so I can see participants. Thanks.
Sorry, I was, Could-
I get you. Ashley, can you unmute? And
Yes, can you hear me okay?
We can.
hear you, yes.
My name is Ashley Ray. I'm a licensed clinical social work supervisor that also owns a mental health clinic out of Dallas, Texas called Ohm Integral Wellness. I appreciate y'all discussing telehealth practices today, and you showed earlier the language indicating that the practitioner as well as the client needs to be in Texas where the service is being provided. However, there was also some comment after that about the practitioner, if they're on vacation, being certain of the laws within the jurisdiction that they are on vacation in, which created a little bit of confusion because the rule already states that the practitioner has to be within Texas. I think that there needs to be ethical consideration of client need, especially if it's an ongoing, say, therapy client of a practitioner, and there are certain clients that just based on where they are at in the course of their treatment, they need that access and availability of their practitioner, even if on vacation. If the board is feeling that it's okay for the practitioner to make sure they're practicing within the jurisdiction that they're on vacation in, then I feel that the rule should be modified to indicate that the practitioner just has to be licensed in Texas, but complying with the rules of the jurisdiction that they're in if they're in a different state, and taking out that they need to physically be within Texas to provide the service. the other question comes up of if the practitioner does have to be in the state in order to provide the service, and there are other members of the team of our wellness center that are helping to support that client while they are away. If that team needs consultation with their primary practitioner while that practitioner is on vacation and gives them a call, and that provider provides consultation, are they now breaking the rule and practicing, practicing outside of out of Texas just to be providing clinical consultation regarding the client that's remaining in the state? So those are the questions that come to mind for us. And with that, I complete my public comment.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. And to that note, I would encourage that once the, we move this to the next meeting, the October meeting. So any written comment can be sent in to the board at any time, which we can then use during our deliberation process to help make these decisions. So I encourage everybody who has insight into how they believe this should or should not work, please send comment to us.
Thank you.
I see no other raised hands. And I don't see anyone. I don't see anyone attending by phone, so I believe that concludes public comment.
And this written public comment, we addressed.
Oh, I'm sorry, I meant to bring that up. Yes.
Yeah, we did have one comment that was sent in writing, if I can talk, related to the rule change and field instruction. And the author of this was G. Neil Clymer from Tarrant County, and Clymer's indicated in the public comment that they supported reinstatement of field instruction receiving CE hours. And they went on to talk about, their opinion about the hours and the number of hours, and our outcome or our proposal is pretty close to what Clymer has indicated. So just acknowledge the fact that we did receive this timely, and we did use this information in our decision-making process. So,
okay.
All right, that concludes public comment. Board members, anything that y'all need to add? If not, our next meeting will be October 24th. Is that right?
I don't know. I got to check.
We gotta look and see. I might have wrote down the wrong one.
I can't get my mouse down there. It's like not having hands.
No, that's the next BHEC meeting.
October 6th, I believe, is the next social work board meeting.
Is that what?
I'm thinking
You're right.
yes.
You're right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Patrick. October 6th is the next social work board meeting.
Yeah.
So mark your calendars, and we will accept anything else from anybody. If not, hearing none, you may leave the meeting and we will adjourn.
Do we need
So
a
I
motion?
need a
to
motion
adjourn
from somebody to adjourn.
before we lose a quorum?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I make a motion, we adjourn meeting.
So have a motion from Ms. Rumsbacher and have a second from
A second.
Ms. Swartz. All those in favor, raise your hand and hit your red leave button, and see you later.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.